I think that making a living as a freelance artist isn't it just about talent? It's about how you structure your career. So today I want to speak about what I think um, was the key for me to keep being employed and having better rates. And this is just my personal experience. I find that everybody has approached their career in a different way, and there are different ways you can make it work. But this is my experience, and the main thing for me has been having multiple clients at the same time. And it all started when I came back to Canada after my experience in New York, Connecticut with Blue Sky. I came back and I needed a job in a studio in Toronto to gain enough experience to apply for my PR, which is like the Canadian equivalent of a green card in the US. So I knew I had to be in a studio physically, and so I started doing TV work for preschool. I was at the time on Thomas the Tank Engine. But at the same time, I felt like I had started a career in feature film. I started having some experience, and my fear was if I'm going into TV, then no one will hire me in feature film because they will think that I have just had this trainee experience and not much else after that. So my instinct was to take some freelance on the side for feature film. And so I was working my 9 to 5 at this at the studio doing TV work. And then I remember on the commute on the bus, I would read the script for feature film and do my thumbnails on the iPad. Then go to work, start working on my storyboard for TV, then take a coffee break and run home. Uh, when I was like close enough to my home at the time, then the studio moved farther away. So I would go to the coffee shop and I would take my meetings. I would pitch my sequences, then run back to work, skip lunch, do my TV work till like 5, so my 9 to 5, go back home and do my feature film work after my 9 to 5. And at the time, I didn't have kids, so I was very flexible with hours. But what I learned from this period was that having multiple clients gave me power, but gave me leverage when I moved on to find a new job. So what started with a career focused reason kind of thing became more of a um, leverage tool and a cushion that made me feel safe when I was moving from job to job. Um, because I feel that when you only have one client, when you move from one contract to the next, you have this pressure to find a new job, and you're not in a position to turn down jobs you don't like or jobs that don't pay as much as you think you're worth. But with multiple clients, you start having a leverage because you're not forced to take any job. You have the time to choose a new job, to choose a right project for you artistically or a right project for you financially. And you start thinking about rates, about jobs in a different way because you start comparing. You're like, okay, this client is paying me for this client. 1 hour of my time is worth this much. Is it worth for me to take less for this kind of project, or are they undervaluing my time on this kind of project? Can I ask more? How much we can compromise? You become a bit more bold in your negotiation, which is something you don't usually have when you only have one client, right? Because the most people I know, they start having anxiety about, I need a new job, I need to get a paycheck. And so with multiple clients, you start understanding your real value in the market. Now that I have kids, I feel my system change. I prioritize work in a different way, and right now, uh, I when I have multiple clients, I tend to try to prioritize the more urgent deadline and the better paying client. I feel you owe to the client who pay you better to give extra attention, which doesn't mean you don't give your best to the second best rate paying client. You just try to prioritize and balance your work to try to give a little better service to those who want to pay you a little better. And so what I try to do is, considering deadline and rates, I try to give my fresh hours to the more creative work, which usually for me is roughing out a sequence like from scratch, like understanding what I'm going to do with the sequence, and then using my low energy hours, like my afternoon hours, for those tasks that I consider easier, like cleaning up or clarifying sequences that are already thought out. And then I track everything on an agenda, making sure I'm not um giving less hours than necessary to a certain project. What I found at the beginning was like I would um, get lost in my work and spend too much time on one project, and then like not having enough time for the other one, so I have to work extra hours to catching up. But since I start tracking the hours, life got way easier. Um, and now that I have kids, I try to keep everything within the hours where the kids are not home. So before having kids, you have this freedom of like giving 110% on everything. Worst case scenario, you're going to work extra hours to achieve the quality you want. But now that I have kids, I have a family, I really care about prioritizing the time with them, right? So I change my approach to work, and I tend to take less demanding jobs, right? Like instead of taking two demanding jobs, maybe I take one demanding job and one is like more relaxed. Um, and another thing that really changed mm, my understanding of freelancing is once I moved on certain project, instead of being paid per hour, I'm paid per episode. And at the beginning, when I was young, I thought that was not fair. I felt like they're gonna take advantage of me, that I might be forced to overwork for more hours for the same pay or even less. But over time, with more experience, I realized that being paid per episode instead of per hour gave me a lot of freedom, because at that point, I'm not trading hours for money, but I'm trading results, my results and my experience for money. And suddenly, like I, I'm not forced to. I don't owe anyone 40 hours of work. If I can get the results in less time, that's, I can use the extra time to have a second client or to rest or spend time with family or on a personal project. And the other thing is, once you have more than one client, you realize you can say no to projects you don't like. Um, and so early in my careers, I really tried to have one job that was um, meant to grow my career, more artistic value, and one um, that pay better, that will give me more financial stability. But um, I soon realized that no matter the amount of money they're gonna offer you, if you don't like a project, you should never take it. Um, and that's very important when you have more than one client, because if you take on a project that you are not enjoying, it's gonna drain the energy. They're gonna suck all the energy out of you, and it's gonna influence the other job. It's gonna influence your relationship, your private life. It's gonna really make your life miserable. And I learned that the hard way. I work on a feature film uh, that um, we had a lot of misunderstanding. We're not in line. I feel like the feedback was not that clear. And I remember that was like the only time I cried for a job. I didn't want to leave the job because I felt it was unprofessional. But at the same time, it was so frustrating that really made my whole life miserable. And since then, I never, ever compromise to take a job just because it pays well. It has to be a job that I feel uh, I can thrive in, right? And that's a very important lesson. And I hope that you can avoid to have to learn that lesson, because it was a very miserable time. Um, so now that I'm older, that I've more experience, I try to find jobs that are both artistic value to me, but also they pay well enough. And I feel that's the privilege of experience. When once you gain more experience, you'll find that the project you like probably also pay better than the project you don't like. At least that's my personal experience. And um, so like I feel this idea of having multiple clients is great, and but it adapts with time. Like different stages require for different approach, in my opinion. If you are young and you're just starting out, I think you want to try to use this method of multiple clients to have one job that is really focused on your artistic growth and your career growth, and maybe one job that allows you to have financial stability. That way you can take on jobs or roles that will allow you to advance in your career, while the second job will help you like uh, improve your financial stability, which when you get into like a mid-career uh, period of your life will allow you, the financial stability will allow you to start building a system where you have stronger negotiation, um, and and so you're gonna be able to move forward in your career with better paying jobs, because now you have the side of artistic growth will give you the chance to have better projects, and the side of your financial stability will allow you to have better pay on those projects. And then the third stage, which is my stage, I think, um, is when you have kids and you have a family, and then you want to be efficient. At that point, you want to be efficient. You want to protect your time, and you need to get clear on which projects are worth the time away from your family, away from the people you love, right? So now, like, it's not just about how much is worth an hour of my time for a project, is how much is worth an hour away from my family for this project, right? Like, is this something I want to do compared to, considering I have to sacrifice an hour of my time and of my life with my family. So freelancing can be unpredictable, and everybody will tell you it's very unstable. But in my experience, because I always had multiple clients at the same time, what it wasn't as unstable as somebody else usually might tell you. And this is my experience. It paid off well for me, but I also know that the experience of other people who had great careers on great project, well paid, with just one client at a time, and they use their extra time to work on their own projects, and those projects paid off well for them because they gave them other opportunities in their career, which I don't have, because once you start having more clients, you don't have as much free time for your own projects. So I can see the counterpoint, and that's why I want to say, like, um, this is my experience. You can take it or leave it. I'm not saying it's the right way to go. Um, but I think what I love about this approach about having multiple clients is that the best freedom you can have is the freedom of saying no. And once you have that cushion, that stability, and you are able to say no, then suddenly your life will be way less stressful. At least that's how I feel my life is. And yeah, like, if you have questions, just drop them below. I would love to hear from you. I would love to chat more about freelancing, storyboarding, and balancing work and life. So if you have questions, I would love to answer them. And if this video helped you, subscribe and like. It's free, and it helps a lot. Ciao.